Real property and personal property. Definition and differences. Much of business law deals with property. There are actually two different types of property, personal property and real property. This lesson explains the differences between these two types of property. Property. There are two types of property. In legal terms, all property will be classified as either personal property or real property. This distinction between types of property comes from English common law, but our modern law continues to distinguish between the two. Each type of property is treated differently under the law. There are many different types of law that specifically pertain to personal property, and many other types of law that pertain specifically to real property. Real property is movable property. It's anything that can be subject to ownership except land. Real property is immovable property. It's land and anything attached to the land. Normally, a piece of property can be easily classified as either personal property or real property. The difference between the two is usually fairly straightforward. However, sometimes it's a little harder to categorize property. Let's look at one example. Let's say that I buy lumber and other building supplies, such as a saw, a hammer, and some nails. The supplies are personal property. They are movable and they belong to me. The law on real property. Real property law covers many different topics related to land ownership and the use of the land. It deals with title and ownership right, as well as the limitation on those rights. Some of the way ownership rights can be limited are by government regulation relating to zoning, environmental conditions, fair housing, and other state and local laws. Ownership rights can also be voluntarily limited or shared by agreements such as leases, easement, and error right conveyance. Understanding personal property. Personal property is also known as movable property, movables, and castles. Because it is viewed as an asset, it may be taken into consideration by a lender when someone applies for a mortgage or other loan. Some kind of property, such as home appliances, clothing, and automobiles, tend to depreciate in value over time. Other kinds, such as artworks and antiques, will sometimes operate in value. When assessing a would-be borrower credit constraints, lender may look at the total current value of their personal property and to their real property. So, for example, if a refrigerator were destroyed in a house fire, a homeowner with a 10-year-old refrigerator and replacement coverage should receive enough money to buy a new refrigerator, while a homeowner with actual cost coverage would receive whatever the insurance company determined a used 10-year-old refrigerator to be worth. Real property, lands and building. Real property describes land and things that are attached to the land, which is why land is sometimes called real estate or realty. Even so, wood, steel, and other building materials aren't land themselves. When they're built into structure attached to the land, they become real property too. Trees and other plants naturally growing on the land are also part of the real property. But plants that require regular human cultivation and labor, such as grain and vegetables, sometimes aren't treated as part of the real property. Personal property cattles. The term cattle sometimes refers to all kinds of personal property, but often is reversed only to neighbors' personal property, or such as nose flutes and toenail clippers, as opposite to intangible property. A cattle such as unfurnished can be affixed to land and become part of the real property. Such cattle are called victories. However, victories may retain their quality as separate personal property for certain purposes. For example, at the end of the last term, the tenant regularly has the right to remove features unless even so she doesn't have any more right to the real property when the lease ends. Personal property intangibles. Intangibles are all kinds of personal property that aren't tangibles, that can be seen or touched. So you can say this kind of property doesn't influence a thing at all, influence only a legal right. The mere existence of such of category of property is a reminder that in the law, property must actually refers to legal right, not to things. A person can be owned all sorts of intangible things, including the following: 1. Bank account. 2. Franchises and license. 3. Insurance policies. 4. Intellectual property such as patent, copyright, and trademarks. 5. Stock, bonds, promissory notes, and similar documents that aren't themselves valuable but merely represent intangible right. Currency is sometimes treated as an intangible. Property right, things that can't be owned. Some things can be owned at all and therefore can't be private property. Some of these things, such as like air and the high seas, can be owned because they naturally seem communal. Other things, such as river and coastal waters, can't be owned because they belong to the public. And some things can be owned because they're illegal, like heroin.